102.6 FM, Boundary Sounds.
The Breakfast Show.
Heading off to Thailand in August may be a holiday for many of you, but some people have to work and compete in championships. And joining me in the studio this morning is Chris Walsh. Good morning, Chris.
Morning, Howard.
And he is going off to the Karate World Championships in August. And tell us a little bit about how yourself and how you got involved in karate.
Well, I got started when I was 5 years old, and my father ran a club in Grantham for more than 20 years. And he got me involved, and from a very young age, just took to it like a duck to water, and progressed through the belt system, and managed to achieve my black belt last year.
Now, as we were saying off air, that karate is not is a sport where there's splinter groups. Now, what kind of karate do you actually do?
I do Shotokan karate, which is really like the origins of karate.
Yeah.
A lot of the other styles you'll see around will have splintered off Shotokan karate throughout the years.
And tell us about Shotokan karate, and also the grading as well, because for many people out there who sort of do karate as a sport, they understand it. But for anybody who doesn't know how it works.
Well, everybody starts when they start is in a white belt, and then that progresses to an orange, a red, yellow, green, then purple, purple and white, brown and white, brown and 2 white. And then you go for your black belt,
which is the highest you can
the highest belt. Once you've achieved your black belt, you then have to wait 2 years to take your second dan, and then progressively on from that is if you want your third dan, you then have to wait 3 years. Then again 4 years for your fourth, and so on.
And what level are you at the moment yourself?
First dan.
You're at first dan. And is it sort of a goal of yours to go and keep going through the grading system?
Yes, I think if I can achieve third dan like my father achieved, that will be more than.
You don't fancy going one better?
Oh, well, maybe.
To get one over.
I think he might come out of retirement to stop me. I think.
I'm going to say I can imagine that, the family pride there. Tell us a little bit about how you said you got involved sort of at a young age through your dad, and you took a break and you've come back, and your achievement was to try and get to your first dan in a year. Tell us about that year and how much training you actually had to do to get that.
Yeah, well, I wasn't doing much training before I came back to karate, and it was just one of those nagging feelings. I'd kind of come away from karate at brown and 2 white, and it was all that nagging feeling of, God, you're just one belt away. So I just decided last year to go for the black belt, and it was just dedicated from January last year all the way through to December when I took my black belt. Was just every month training, physical training down at the karate club, maybe 2, 3, maybe even 4 times a week.
And which club do you train at?
I train at the Newark Shotokan Karate Club.
And many members in there, and how often do you have to go? I mean, you said to me earlier on 10 to 12 hours of training a week is pretty much what you're putting in at the moment, so I can imagine it was roughly the same then.
We meet on a Tuesday. We have like a kids class on from 6:30 for an hour and a half, and then we have the adult session from 8 till 10 on the Tuesday, and then train Thursdays 8 till 10. And train Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoons as well. So
all those training sessions you sort of go to, you train, and I should think that watching people progress.
Predominantly, unless I've got to be down in Westminster training with the national squad.
Now, the story of you getting involved in the England squad is phenomenal, because it was just before Christmas last year. You went to go for your actual Dan exam, which is what you have to do.
Yeah.
And you got sort of hand-selected by the England coach.
Yes, one of the senior coaches approached me after I'd had my part of the exam is you have to have a karate fight, and after I'd finished the fight, but even before I'd finished my exam, my black belt exam, he came up to me and said, "What are you doing next weekend?" And which I replied, "Nothing." Yeah. And he says, "Well, I think you need to come down and try out for squad."
And that's how it basically happened then, effectively. So it was a very early Christmas present last year. And I can imagine that it was quite an honour to be selected.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'd planned on going for it this year, trying to get on the squad. So it was a real big surprise when he invited me to have a tryout for the squad.
And tell us a little bit about the England squad and what you're actually going to do when you go to the World Championships.
Well, when we get to the World Championships, I've been selected for the male individual and male team kumite, which is the fighting aspect of karate. Yeah. So the team will be a 5-person team or 5-man team, which, depending on how you get on in the individuals, is then how you get put down in the order of like number 1, number 2, through to number 5.
Right, okay. And the actual fighting itself, you were saying to me that it's actually, as much as it sort of looks quite vicious, and watching the YouTube videos of you, it does look quite a harsh sport to be involved in, but it's actually controlled aggression.
Yeah, it's controlled aggression. I mean, sometimes you do get people, getting warned or disqualified for being too heavy-handed.
Yeah.
You can get things like broken noses, broken ribs, and so on.
And it is, like you say, it's controlled aggression. So the minute you sort of go to attack somebody, you almost have to draw back before you make contact.
Yes, as you're making contact, so they are feeling the punch, but you're not going full bore.
Yeah.
With the punch. And
tell us a little bit about sort of the training that you do with the England squad. I'm assuming it's slightly different to what you sort of do in the Newark squad.
Yes. It's predominantly like physical training, stamina training, and then just repetitive basic training as well.
So when you go to the championship, you said to me earlier, it's almost like learning a routine, the way that you have to prepare for these championships. So explain to people sort of how you, from the beginning to actually going to championships, what kind of routine you have to put together. Is there certain elements you have to include? Is there certain moves you have to include?
Well, in the fighting, which I'm going to be involved in, there isn't so much, but it's getting the basics right.
Right.
Making sure your kicks are right, making sure your punches are right, but mainly it's your speed, technique, and just making sure that you're not too heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Every squad session, we generally finish with kumite, like fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically just being at the squad, you can test yourself on the best people in the country that are there.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that so for the other sort of aspects of the sport, where there is sort of the routines, because you're saying that you do have to do sort of almost like include certain elements in each piece. Is that how it works?
Yes, in the people that will be involved in the kata aspect, which is the kind of, you're fighting an imaginary opponent, but in that it could be 23, could be 30 moves in the kata, and you've got to learn that. If you make a mistake, the points will be down.
Yeah.
Because when you get on the map doing kata against somebody else, because you'll have an opponent next to you and they're doing the same kata as you.
Yeah.
If your stance is wrong, if you do a move wrong, then that's minus points, and you could be on the plane home.
So it should almost be like a mirror image with two competitors then.
Yes.
Yeah. And how do you, and to get onto the England squad, like I say, you must have to be at a certain level. Is it sort of is it an Olympic sport? Is it going to be an Olympic sport? Is this the highest you can go to in August?
Yes, this is the highest you can go with karate. Unfortunately, it's not in the Olympics.
Yeah.
I can't see it being in the Olympics in the near future, but you can only hope that it might be someday.
Absolutely. And what are you trying to? What's hopefully your goal when you go out there? Is it just sort of to get a medal in general, or are you aiming for gold for it?
I think you've got to aim to be in the medals, but there's going to be some stiff competition out there with, from what I believe, with the Japanese and the South Americans. But I can't knock any of the other countries, because there's going to be some high caliber people out there.
Fantastic. Well, we'll come back in a second after this one from Taylor Swift, and we'll have a chat about what to expect when you actually go out there in August. I'm joined in the studio this morning by Chris Walsh, who's after the Karate World Championships in Thailand. And good morning, Chris.
Morning.
And tell us a little bit about the championships itself, and because it's taking place in August in Pattaya in Thailand. How big is this event?
Well, this is about as big as it's going to get in the karate world. It's going to span over 2 days. All the preliminary stages will be on Saturday.
Yeah.
While we're out there. I'd imagine that's going to go on for most of the day to get all the numbers dwindled down for the final, and then the final will be on the Sunday while we're out there.
And how many countries take part in this? Is it a worldwide phenomenon?
It's a worldwide. There'll be countries spanning from South America, North America, Japan, China, everywhere.
And is it a sport where it's a bit like football and it's all sort of paid for all by itself, or is it something that you sort of have to raise the funds for yourself? Well,
we're lucky with the JK. They give you part of the money to get out there, and then they ask you for a donation towards it, which I've been very lucky to have local businesses in Newark that have sponsored me to get me there.
Yeah, and I mean, is it a massively expensive thing to be able to do? Do you pay for all the courses you go on? And
yes, you have to pay for all the courses you go on. You do get a concession being on squad,
right?
But otherwise it is quite financially straining sometimes, travelling the main thing. And obviously paying for the course, but travelling is the main thing that eats away at the money. Is
it a bit like football where you can basically do it as a job, or do you sort of have to? Is it sort of more of a hobby than a full-time sort of position?
No, it's more of a hobby.
Yeah.
You'd have to have a big financial sponsor, I think, to be able to do it as a job.
And is it possible to find that? Is it something that's ever been explored? Is the England squad, as you sort of see with swimming, the swimming in the Olympics is sponsored by British Gas. Is it something like that? Is it a sponsored sport?
It would be nice to see it, but it isn't at the moment. But if the squad could be sponsored, in my eyes, that would be fantastic.
And tell us a little bit more about this event that's taking place in August. I'm assuming that your goal is to go for gold.
Well, every karateka aspires to go for gold, but I'm a realist and I know the competition's going to be good, but you have to take each fight at a time. It only lasts 2 minutes, so you've got to do your best and just keep each fight at a time, keep going forward.
And this, you say there's people to watch out for. The Japan squad is pretty sort of huge, and South America as well, you're saying?
Yes, South America's huge. Japan are just going to be the ones to watch. They've got some phenomenal fighters, absolutely phenomenal. And
is it a sort of almost like a friendly sport? Do you sort of make friends out there and you sort of keep in touch over the year?
Oh yeah, especially with Facebook now. You meet people, add them on Facebook. You'll see them at the Spring International course that's run twice a year. So, yeah, you meet people from all over the world, which is great. And
to get out there, as you say, the sponsorship is what you're sort of after. I can imagine that to raise this sponsorship has been quite a difficult thing. Is there anybody you particularly like to thank for their help?
Yeah, if I could, I'd love to thank Hayek Services, which is the company I work for. Mm-hmm. Newark Storage as well, and the National IT Learning Centre in particular. They've made considerable contributions, I can't thank them enough.
And that basically is now paid for you to be able to go out to compete in these championships?
Yes, it has, yes.
And together as a squad, do you sort of almost form like a pact almost where you sort of become friends and it's almost like they're work colleagues and more than sort of just people you meet every week?
Yes, I mean, training regularly down in London, there is the competition that people want to be selected because unfortunately there will be people that aren't going.
Yeah.
So generally the competition is quite high, but then once you're selected as that squad that's going, you form quite a very close bond with all the people that'll be there.
And is there a ranking system in all of this? Because as you say, they sort of know Japan is the ones to beat. I'm assuming that you sort of England in the football are always sort of 6th or 7th and never seem to move. Is there anything like that countrywide?
There isn't an official table ranking system, but I think a lot of the karate people all recognise that Japan are the country to beat.
Yeah. And going out there as well, is this your aim to just go out once, or are you sort of going to try and keep going every year?
I'd like to see if I can continue for at least maybe another year, 2 years at least. I mean, I'll be 30 next year, so maybe got a couple of good years left at karate, competing at a high level. And
is there a point where it becomes almost sort of impossible to be able to do it? Is there a sort of, with some sports, age is the key where you sort of have to give up at certain ages? Is it a continual thing for life, or?
We do have one member on the squad that's 41 years of age, and he's actually coming. He's been selected as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, he keeps himself very, very physically fit.
Yeah.
But he's mentioned that he'll probably retire after this tournament. I think you've got to be realistic. I mean, I'd like to think that maybe 34 is the cut-off age that you would want to retire from competing internationally. You can compete in the British nationals for as long as you like, but I think internationally you've got to have a cut-off time.
And if people want to get involved in the sport, how can they find out more information? Is there websites, or is it a case of just going down to the club?
Yes, they can go to the JK England website. If you just search JK England on Google, or even if you just ring up the Grove Leisure Centre and ask for the karate club's number, that you'll be given that. Come down, train, have a good time. And
remind us about those training times again for people who want to get involved.
We train Saturday and Sunday afternoons from 4 o'clock for an hour and a half. That's on the Saturday and the Sunday. Mm-hmm. Thursday evenings we train 8 till 10, Tuesday evenings 8 till 10, and there's also a kids class on the Tuesday, which is from 6:30 to 8 o'clock.
And if you sort of have one top tip for people who are interested in getting involved in the sport, what would it be?
Top tip: if you want to get fitness, learn a bit of self-defense, and meet a good group of people, I'd come on down to karate.
And we wish you all the very best with it. Thank you very much for coming in this morning.
Thank you very much.
We'll keep up to date with you, and we'll probably get you back into the studio or on the phone, either while you're there or when you come back.